Good evening, sunshine. So, this is part 2 to the video that I made this morning that I was not anticipating to make, but I thought before I forget, I want to send you or create another video for you. Now, this one is meant to make you laugh, smile, etc. At least I hope. So, let's first start with the soldier coming in, and I'm going to take a wild guess, okay? Again, this is a very, very wild guess that this is the same soldier who is married, and 1 year ago he was visiting you, and y'all became a little intimate, but you put the brakes on it because, as you said, you didn't want him to go back with this giant smile on his face. So I'm going to make a prediction that it's that soldier, that the younger one who's had this mad crush on you for many, many years. So you'll have to tell me if I'm right or wrong about that. This evening, it's Thursday night. I hope you're enjoying your Thursday night football. God willing, your team or teams are winning tonight. I'm leaving the south side of San Antonio. There was an event, a culinary event. This man wrote a book about all of the meals or food items that were produced in this area. The south side of San Antonio is where all the missions are, as you know, and this is where the indigenous people, lived when the Spanish arrived. And so the mission system and all of that, there's this new effort by young people to become vegetarians, to prepare food products in the way the indigenous people did it. So I'm leaving that event, and I tell you that story because I am actively trying to get out, take pictures, see as many people as possible, as opposed to maybe staying in the office or going home and just, taking pictures. Now, there's also, as you do, a business connection. So this month, for the first time ever in the past 90 days, Instagram is showing me that I've reached 500,000 views in the past 90 days, which is just inconceivable to me. That's like the size of a small city, right? 500,000 people, and I'm now monetized by them. So right now, I think for the past 7 or 8 days, I'm going to get $10. Usually the payments have been about $2.50 to $3, and my theory is that I would love to get to a point where, maybe I'm making $200 a month, $300 a month, and that'll pay, the light bill and the water bill and something else. So one of the nice things about that is you get to meet so many people, new people. And in the past, 5 years ago, the page is 8 years old, but the Instagram page has reached 8,000 followers, and it's amazing. Like, I went to this one event and I took a picture of this young lady with this guy she was with. I didn't really want a picture of the guy, but I thought he's a Latino guy and he's gonna throw a pissy fit if I say, "Can you get out of the way? I just want to take a picture of your Caucasian girlfriend." So anyway, I blast out the picture and she writes me within 48 hours saying, "Hey, is there any way you can take the picture down?" Like, she's affiliated with Models of Texas. It's like an agency for models. And she's like, people are giving me a hard time and they think things that are not really true. So, I immediately deleted it. And the reason I tell you that story is because social media in a city like San Antonio, which is really not that big compared to Houston, it's phenomenal how one image can go out and a complete stranger will say, "Please take down that picture because people think I'm effing with this guy," and I'm not. And so I took it down. And to me, it's just really, really funny. These young kids, they will you ask them, hey, can I take your picture so I can feature you? Oh, yeah. They put their purses down and so forth. So that has been fun. It's been good for my head because you get to have new experiences and you see different things, which leads me to something I wanted to share with you. Now, this one decision that I made is going to strike you as an odd one, but I'm so intrigued by how you're going to respond to this. And it doesn't have to be an immediate response, but I always love to hear your opinions, because just when I'm thinking you're going to come to me with point of view number A, you come to me with point of A, B, or C, or D, or in some cases F, right? Which is fine, because I love getting your perspective on things. So let me start by saying this idea came to me when I saw this Instagram reel featuring a rabbi. And the rabbi essentially said, listen, the whole purpose of dating in a committed relationship is, where are we going to go down the road? Like, if we're spending time with each other's families, we're intimate, and we're close in a committed manner, again, where are we going to go? And that struck me as very significant, because my theory is that women in my age group, our age group, really want something long-term, right? If you're going to be dating, well, you're dating with intention, right? And I made the decision, Sunshine, that, for the foreseeable future, I'm just not going to date. I mean, I've been off dating websites for years, and I think for most men, dating websites are just horrible. I think they're amazing for women in the sense that you post a picture, you're going to have 10, 15, 20, 30, 50 guys just hitting you up, right? And now I understand not all 50 of them are quality, college degreed, individuals like yourself who got your paper in order and so forth and are well traveled, etc. I get that, right? But for the average man who is not, 6'4" and looks like Chad or Jerome, it's a lot different. It's a lot harder. I mean, just even getting a response back from someone is a miracle. And I have this theory that women in 2025 have so many options compared to men. And you may disagree with this, but my theory after hearing stories, watching YouTube videos is, and again, I know you're going to wince when you hear this, but the reality is that single women get hit on by married guys all the effing time who are unhappy in their marriages. They just want to play around. Number two, you now have the rise in all these young guys wanting MILFs, wanting, middle-aged women who they can have sex with without a condom. So MILFs have been a big thing for, as you can imagine, for the past few years. And then you've got men who have lost their wives recently, and I've been seeing an upswing of that. And these guys don't want to be alone, right? They want a partner. They've been used to living with a partner for decades. So you got those cats out there too. And then you have just single guys like myself who are out there because of divorce or etc., right? So that's a very, very large pool. And I think, women can have, I've seen stories, videos where, a woman can have a date every single night and have dinner paid for and go to the movies and all that good stuff. And for some, it turns into a business. But having said that, I'm not interested in dating in any manner, because, as the rabbi said, if you're not dating with the intention of, hey, how are we going to build something? Hey, how are we going to grow something? It's really not fair to give a woman the impression that, hey, we're being intimate, and we're sharing all these very close interactions, because feelings get developed, and in the end, I think most women really suffer when they've been led on indirectly, or they've been put in a position where maybe the guy said, yeah, I really want to settle down, when the guy knows damn well he's not going to do that. So one would ask, well, what difference does it make, right? And it's fascinating because this is the first time in my life that when I go to these events, functions, parties, etc., right, as a result of some changes I've made to my diet, also I'm doing, I've been involved in a strength training class every Saturday morning, in addition to my boot camp classes every Monday and Wednesday. You know, my physique has changed. My midsection is has tightened up. My posture has improved, and I would argue that I've gained probably 1/2 inch in height just because of posture, right? And what happens is the top part of your body starts building out, and you just feel it. You sense it. You sense that your body is changing, and like all parts of my body, like even areas I was thinking, holy shit, I never thought that would be changing, but maybe it's testosterone. Now I tell you that because when I'm going to these events and functions, for the first time in my entire life, I'm actually seeing women like turn their heads to see me. Now, you know, I'm not saying like, oh my God, I'm such a stud or anything, but you can see in a woman's eyes how their eyes dilate if they're like, oh, you're an interesting character. Because in San Antonio, most men are larger, right? Okay. I don't want to be judgmental, but they're larger, especially in their midsection. And, you know, we have such amazing Mexican food and beer and etc. that will affect your body, right? Especially when your metabolism slows down at 50 to 55. So, and the way I dress is clearly very different from most men. Even when I'm with my brother every Monday night at my mom's house, my brother, he is so proud of the fact that he buys all of his clothes at Costco, which is fine, but he looks like the average middle class, or in his class, upper class man, right? You know, the golf look and and he's larger than I am in terms of his midsection and his height too. So I share that story with you because I'm at the point now where I don't even make eye contact with women anymore. I don't even look at them anymore when I can sense that they're touching their hair or they're like looking at me like, hey, it'd be kind of interesting to have a conversation with you. We're clearly at a cocktail party, we're at an event. Now, I always wear my badge, my Miami Book Fair badge that says media. Thank you again for the trip. And so they're just intrigued, right? Like, who are you? And I think with having the beard and now with the curly hair, you just stand out. I don't look like the average middle-aged man in San Antonio, let's put it that way. And I feel that by not making eye contact with these women, by not, I don't want to say being unfriendly, but being indifferent. And I don't want to sound like I'm being arrogant or an elitist person, but if I know that I'm not opposed to making new friends, right? But there's also a part of me that feels that, you know, if this woman is single and she's kind of looking at me and like, hey, what's going on? And if I know that I'm going through this process of getting over this garbage that I've been through since March, I'm really not in a place where I'm going to be a good partner or person. And even having said that, if I already know that I really don't have any interest at all in dating with intention, it's really unethical for me to engage in a conversation with someone when I'm not ready, I have no interest, and I'm wasting this person's time. Because what if the next person that's standing behind me is the partner that she's destined to have? And I have found that some of the women, you know, they're puzzled because the average guy is going to say something to them or approach them or start small talk. But I intentionally will divert my eyes, move my body, or move in another direction, which is saying, like, hey, I mean, I'm not rude, right? But it's such a funky feeling because never in my life have I ever had that kind of attention where it's more of a curious, like, hey, and in some cases, like, they'll do like a double take, like, oh, you'd be a cool person to meet. And it's just, I'm not vibing in that way, if that makes any sense, right? And I'm so fascinated in what you're going to say about this approach that I'm taking. And part of me feels that it is, on a certain level, rude, and it's not friendly to behave in that manner, because I've seen you in public places, and when somebody comes up to you in the gas station or someone else, you make it a point to reciprocate. And I think that's how we are as cancers, right? Like, hey, if you're going to smile at me, I'll smile back at you. If you're going to throw me a compliment, I'll throw the compliment right back at you. Or maybe not compliment, but I'll engage with you to start a dialogue and just be friendly. But I'm not doing what's innate as a Cancer. And that's something that just bothers me, because it's not the way I am, and I would prefer to engage with people, but I'm finding myself distancing myself from people at these venues, sitting alone, sitting by myself. And in many ways, when I go to these functions, Sunshine, I'm going as a photojournalist, a quasi-journalist, because I'm not really writing essays, but I am documenting what happened that evening. And sometimes it's as short as 3 or 4 lines, or if I go to a place and I give it a review, it might be 5 lines. And so what I'm saying is, like, I go there with the intent of covering the function, taking pictures, and then leaving because I might have another event. Like, for example, this coming Saturday, I have 4 events, right? I have an auction that I'm going to be going to. I also have an antique show that I'm going to be attending, and I have a signed book that I'm going to give to a friend of mine. She works for SAPD. Her husband's a police officer, and she loves Diane Keaton. I happen to have an autographed book, so I'm going to film her receiving this gift, which is a blessing, Cancerian blessing. And there's a fashion show that I'm going to Friday night, tomorrow night, and that's been another interesting thing, as I mentioned, going to these fashion events and seeing the self-care, self-love that these individuals have for themselves, which I think is very admirable. And so, in summary, I'm getting out, but I've made the decision to build a wall around myself, at least in this phase, that I need to get my head straight, and it's happening. I feel so much better. I haven't had any really bad moments. Ironically, the only challenging things have been moments with my mother recently, but that's resetting boundaries and saying, this is where I'm at. We've talked about that before. So, but there's that Cancerian part of me that feels, I don't want to hurt this other person who's looking at me in a way where, hey, I'd love to meet you, or you look intriguing to me, like, are you into this kind of art or food or whatever? And that does hurt me, because I feel like I'm being an ass. I'm being an arrogant snob. But I'm just not ready to talk. I'm not ready to engage. And beyond that, if it's a single woman and she's like, hey, what's going on? And then the other factor is, in San Antonio, for a variety of reasons, this is a very, very, very progressive city. And that's also a challenge for me, because I'm not active in those very liberal, progressive, socialist, communist, left-leaning, resistance circles. And when I go to a lot of these functions, those are the people that attend these things, right? They tend to be on the very, very, very liberal side, and you don't want to be lying to them. You don't want to be pretending to be something you're not, and that's also another factor. So I almost feel like, you know how the homosexuals say they got to keep to themselves, they can't say anything because they don't know how they're going to be perceived or received, and that's also part of the equation. So it's a big challenge because this is a very, San Antonio, if you may not know, this is a very it's a city that discriminates against black people, and I'm noticing that, and this is by Latinos or Mexican Americans, they're not very friendly to black people. They'll be cordial, but there's underlying horrific racism in this town. And for example, I went to a garage sale run by a senora, lady was about 75, and I asked her about this, and she said, "Oh, mijo," or son, you know, back when I went to Jefferson High School, there was a black young man in my class, but I had a hard time seeing him as a human. And that's what she said to me, a complete stranger, okay? She was very open about it. So, aside from that, I've taken thousands of pictures that I posted on social media, and when there's a black young lady compared to a Latina young lady, the Latina will get 35, 40, 50 likes. The black young lady will get 6 to 7, if that. So that's a real challenge for me too. It's knowing, and you know, even my youngest daughter, you know, she goes to UTSA, and I don't know if it's the Latino studies or the classes they're taking. I've even heard her say what I would consider a racist comments about white people, Caucasian people. And I'm like, hold on, I didn't raise you to think that way or to act that way against, you know, oh, those white people, oh, those, you know, X, Y, and Z, oh, it's a white man. So there's a lot of that lingering out there. And ironically, a lot of these progressive women end up with Caucasian men, you know. All the most well-known progressive women, especially here in San Antonio, oh my God, they're always with these tall Caucasian men who tend to have PhDs, master's degrees, and that's the other factor. What I've noticed, a lot of Latinas who are 55 and above, maybe they've had their share of Latino men, but they're not going for white guys. They're going for Caucasian guys all day long. Some of that could be economic, etc. And it is what it is, right? So I wanted to share that with you. I'm about 10 minutes away from my house, and oh my Lord, here I am 23 minutes. So I know you're on your way to Fort Lauderdale, so you know you can listen to this video. Well, I'm already 23 minutes into it. I should have said this at the beginning, right? But that's what I've been going through recently, and once again, it's something that's new and different, and I'm starting to think that maybe long term, since I really cannot see myself being in a truly committed relationship, because the reality is that it's expensive to, I know this sounds like an excuse, okay, I can already sense the Cancerian comment on your end, like, oh, that's just an excuse. If you love someone, you're going to make it happen. But sunshine, it's true. If you're going to be getting married, and I got a kid who's still in college, right? She's going to be graduating from UTSA in a year, but she wants to study medicine. So I'm all in for the next 5-6 years. She's living in a house that I own. You know, I'm covering most of the expenses. My mom's covering school and food. And she doesn't have a car, so that's really not an issue right now. And I do believe that if you're going to get into a committed married relationship, it's expensive in the sense that, like, I have a house that I live in, and, you know, the kitchen needs to be updated, and I don't have $35,000 to $45,000 to update a kitchen. And I also lead a life where I work a lot. And you know as well as I do that if you're going to be married, you need to make it a true partnership. You can't be arriving at 8 p.m. every night and show up tired and ready to eat. No, that's not the way it works. You really have to be all in terms of commitment, in terms of like physically and mentally being there. And I'm not in that space because I'm grinding, I'm hustling, and I'm paying off the government. For my ex-wife did a marvelous job hiring very good divorce attorneys or family attorneys, so I got stuck with a lot of stupid expenses. Your son with that Italian baby mama knows all about that. And I got messed up with the IRS for not paying what I should be paying. I've been paying them off every month over the past 5 years, and I'm slowly getting that debt. I'm slowly meeting my obligations to the government, right? So I'm doing the right thing. And that is also a financial burden. You can't go into a marriage saying, oh, by the way, I have this financial commitment to the government. That's not fair. So I'm trying to make the argument to you that mentally, financially, and maybe physically, I'm not ready to be in that space because, number one, I know it sounds so negative. There's really no options out there for me, in the sense that the number of women out there who are truly, truly single is very small. I think there's a lot of women out there who have a roster of 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 guys. I'm not saying they're having sex with them, but these guys are good to them. They take care of them, take them out. They go here, they go there. They fix stuff for them. And they're platonic relationships, and they're beautiful connections, and I'm not knocking that, but a lot of these women would legitimately ask, hey, listen, if I'm getting involved with you, brother, what are you bringing to the table, right? Like, why should I stop this life that I have when I got my paper right, I got my head right, my kids are out of the house? I'm not going to get into a situation where this guy's got a kid in school, he's got financial obligations. No, they're going to find the Caucasian guy who's got the $400,000 house here in Texas. They've always wanted a Latina, or whatever, right? And I'm not saying that I can't compete at that level, but I can't really compete at that level. Let's be honest. And those are things that kind of weigh on my mind. That is, you got to be realistic, right? You got to be realistic about how you want to live. Oh, and that's the other thing. I don't know if I alluded to this earlier today in my video, but going through this motion of the next 15 years, right? Like, how do you design your life? How do you structure your life moving forward so you can live the life you want to lead? So that's the end of that little discussion there. Oh my Lord, there was one more thing I wanted to bring up. So I talked about the soldier, Fort Lauderdale, no dating, and I think that's going to be probably where I'm at mentally over the next maybe 10 to 15 years. Just maybe closing that door mentally and saying, why go there? Why think that? Focus on other things in your life over the next 10 to 15 years, making money, generating more payroll tax revenue, because unless I'm wrong, my understanding is that the Social Security Administration will look at your 10 years prior to 65 and pay out utilizing those numbers. So if those numbers are better, you would most likely have a better Social Security payment. You would know that better than I do, but that's what I've been told. And as a small business owner, it behooves you to have a lot of expenses because you want as much revenue as possible so you can have more money coming in when you retire or you hit 65. So that is that. Let me see, one thing else. Oh my Lord, there was something else. I don't want to make a third video for you. You're gonna say, Joe, okay, you're on one of your little rants, or maybe you're totally fixed right now. Oh, so that's it. My brother is he bought us concert tickets to go to a heavy metal concert next year, just out of the blue, and it was so nice of him, clearly. But it was fascinating that he did that, because we're not historically very close, and maybe he feels maybe a little bit of sympathy for stuff I've been going through, but maybe the other part is, hey, I don't want to lose my brother in terms of having someone to have in my life. You're aware of how on my mom's side I've unplugged from them, and Sunshine, it has been such a relief not dealing or hearing those stories that I did not enjoy hearing. And one of my cousins has a son, and this morning on Instagram he sent me like a little meme showing a guy's butthole, basically calling me an asshole because I'm not friendly with his mom. And when I saw that this morning, I blocked him, right? And I don't know if he was trying to be cute about it, but that's all he put in. He just sent it to me by DM, showing me an asshole. And I'm not stupid. I know what that means. And I think that moment made me feel like, okay, I did make the decision by just setting boundaries and not actively socializing with these family members who are just not good for me, and I'm not good for them. Yes, I'll be cordial to them at weddings and so forth, but I don't have to be hanging out with them. And in the past, and I'm talking about the past 10 to 15 years, these cousins would go to Vegas and go to concerts and go to all these functions, and they're my age, right, on my mom's side. Never invited me. Never even threw out a, hey, we know you're working, but would you be interested in maybe going to Vegas? We're all going together, or we're going to this football game, this UT game. Like, I was never involved in any of that. So they were already keeping to themselves back in the day. So now I'm just saying, oh, I'm going to do the same thing. I'd rather not F with you because you guys never F'd with me. So let's not be hypocritical. Let's not pretend like we like each other, we care for one another. Now, these cousins are affluent, and they remind you of how affluent they are, which I don't really need, I don't need to be hearing you got a $55,000 bonus. I don't need to be hearing that, if the company sells out, all your shares are gonna be worth so much. I've just reached the point where I just don't need to hear that when I'm having my own little challenges by myself. And business-wise, things, and I may have alluded to this, have been difficult recently. The economy is slowing down. I work with a lot of contractors and people in the construction business, and that whole segment has been affected by things going on nationally. All the immigration stuff that's happening. I mean, I spoke to an agency recently, or an agency sales rep, and she was saying, oh yeah, I'm like, we have customers that have been picked up and they're no longer here. Now, this region, San Antonio, Laredo, down in the valley, this is not a big anti-ICE, anti-government place like Chicago and Los Angeles. Like, those cats are literally physically fighting with the ICE officers and so forth. Over here in Texas, we have so many family members that are either working for the Border Patrol, working for ICE, working for law enforcement, and we had a large influx of Venezuelans because this was the area where they came through, and there was a massive amount of crime that happened when the Venezuelans came in. And I only know this because I have clients in law enforcement, and they were saying, oh yeah, we're picking up these guys and they have gold chains and they get cash money and Jordans. So we got to experience, some of the movie theaters, the parking lots, there'd be 15 break-ins in one night. And nobody can vandalize so many cars unless you're really good. Like, you got to be really, really good to break into 15 cars in one night. And those break-ins were happening close to those areas where the Venezuelans were here in town, because they're very good. They're very, very talented when it comes to that. So, and also the Venezuelans hate the Mexicans hate the Venezuelans, because when the Venezuelans went through Mexico, the rape trees, their women were basically raped. They would have to start taking their birth control a day before they'd hit the border. And the Mexican cartels would say, okay, so many women have to go to this tree. They essentially were sexually abused, but it's the quota, right? It was what they had to pay, like paying their dues to get across. So they hate the Mexicans. And that's been very, very challenging. And I bring that up because it's not a hot subject here. Yes, there's a lot of Mexican Americans who don't like it, but we're so accustomed to it. Even people that have family members that have no paperwork, they will call their family members illegals. They'll say, oh yeah, she's illegal, he's illegal. That terminology is used here quite often because we're so close to the border. And if you don't have paperwork, the average Mexican construction guy knows, hey, I don't have papers, I'm here working illegally, and they know it. So in terms of business, it has been affecting us because that industry is shrinking a little bit, and most of my clients were on the small contractor side. So getting back to money, when I lose 2, 3, 4 accounts in 1 month, that affects my bottom line, which in terms affects my finances. So hearing cousins say, spend $55,000, and some of these families, oh my God, the way they spend money shocks me. I mean, going out to dinner, dropping $300 to $400, going to Vegas, buying Louis Vuitton purses, buying those, oh God, what's the name of those shoes? Louis Vuitton shoes for like $900, $1,200, and they don't even wear them because they don't want to scuff up the red heel or bottom side. So anyway, enough on that. All right, sunshine, big love. Have a wonderful weekend, and thanks for letting me talk to you. It's been so refreshing, and but I wanted to share that with you. And whenever you get a chance, I would love to hear your perspective on my decision to not date indefinitely, and just to basically maybe close that chapter of my life and just fall in love with my own life and my own and the circles around me in terms of social circles, business, and so forth. So once again, love to get your input. Big love. Ciao, ciao.